So
for us as players, we don't get any say in it. If anybody tells you we do, I think there probably are very few players that do. They'd be lying. And then they also don't tell us anything before anybody else knows it. So oftentimes I find these things out reading them on the internet. So I only follow from afar because sort of like everything else in a football player's life, you have no control over what's going on around you, and you just make the best of it. So, yes, we do have a couple things in the O-line. We have a couple free agents. We don't know what's going to happen there, and obviously we're going to have some room to bring some people in. So it's always interesting. So it's fun to watch that and see kind of what you're going to have to deal with and what opportunities you're going to have in the future.
Are you ever surprised by the news? Like not even Cowboy news, just NFL news.
I am. I'm often surprised. I get like the little like breaking news alerts on my phone, so it's not always specifically one team. But when you hear the big free agent signings, you get surprised by some of those things, like the Packers and Jordy Nelson. I don't know anything about that position, and nothing about the cap, all of that. So I know there are reasons behind it. Just in my head, as a person from Wisconsin, and knowing like that's just like a no-brainer. Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay, Jordy Nelson is in Green Bay. Like that's just how that works. So it's just weird to know that he's going to Oakland, and I don't know. It's interesting.
So how often are you talking to Zack about his contract? Does he ever bring it up?
He never brings it up, and I occasionally bring it up, and he quickly shuts me down. He's pretty private about it, which is totally fair, and I respect that. I just continue to voice my support for him and let him know that if there's anything that he needs, obviously I've been through that. I've had the opportunity to be through that. So there is some stressful times there. So I just want to be there for him, and hopefully he can get something done here.
Is that a part of his personality, or is he truly my agent handles that guy? You see what I'm saying? Because that can be two different things.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think he really does trust in his agent to handle a lot of that. Obviously, the players get the final say on everything, and they have meetings and stuff before to discuss what they're looking for, where they want to be. Some people like to be more involved. I told my agent that I wanted to be involved in the process and see things go back and forth, and he's like, well, I don't know about that. And I said, just do it. Like, I pay you to do this for me. So, and so he sent the information to me. And he said, this is why I don't send these in between, because the first offer is like, what? I mean, is that really what you think of me? And where really it's a negotiation thing. Everybody has to start somewhere, and it all comes together. But those are the type of things that they try to shield from the players.
Man, I saw Pro Football Focus had released stats about the pressures you guys allowed. Are you even aware of that type of thing? Like how many quarterback pressures you would have allowed on the season?
We look at it game by game. Just as I always try and tell people, it's a game by game, week by week thing. So we always get a recap of the game on Tuesdays when we watch it, or on Monday. Yeah, Tuesdays when we watch it. So that's where we get that information.
You guys speaking about you and Zack were the best. You guys, I think, allowed 10 and 11, and everybody
and that's not
else,
even sacks; it's pressures.
Yeah, just pressures, right. And then the I think on the line, I think a couple guys gave away 20, and then I think Lyle was
51.
51, yeah.
Okay.
So comparatively, you guys had a great year, but I can never get you guys to compliment yourselves in any way. You don't care about your Madden ratings, you don't care about any of that stuff, but. I mean, in several of you guys are really good. Obviously, the 3 first-round picks for sure. But is Zack the best lineman in football?
That's a great question. I think that he's arguably the best guard in football. I think it's hard to compare people across positions because even the best center in football is probably not as good as some of maybe the top 5 guards.
Why do you point at yourself when you say the best center?
I was not
the
pointing,
thumb.
No,
you see the thumb.
I thought he pointed at me.
I put my 2 hands out at
you
both
pointed
Ben
with your
and
thumb
Skin.
at yourself. You said the best center, and you winked.
No,
center.
well, I will say that Zack is very impressive at what he does, and he studies, and it really means something to him. And his technique is it's out of this world. He focuses on it so hard, and then he has these intangibles that you don't get to see unless you know exactly what's going on.
Like what?
But I've seen him do a sort of a matrix move before where both feet are planted in the ground, like with a solid base, and he's bent backwards over, and he can pull himself back up. And this is mid-play, so I'm watching it, on film, and I'm like, what's going on over here? And you look at it, and he just was off balance for a second and fell backwards, but instead of falling to the ground, he just magically reappeared in that position. It's so odd. And,
Looks like an edit or something.
Yeah, it was definitely something that was messy there. But I guess some of the other parts, like his fight, is something that obviously gets mentioned a lot, but in our team, like, it's talked about, like the fight of Zack Martin. It's like a pinnacle of what you can look at to be a successful player, and you see that on plays where he might have got beat, or he may be a little bit out of position, and all of a sudden he pulls this 360 spin and gets in a guy's way and shoves him past the quarterback, and he steps up and makes a throw. So it's just really fun to watch him play.